Thank you very much, and I have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Greg Ashefo. Over to you, Dr. Greg. Thank you. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okusu, and all the organizers of this SKIL webinar series. I don't know if you can hear me. Can nobody hear me?
Well, yes, we can hear you very well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here, and I'm not making this opportunity lightly. I'm very humbled to be invited to speak to you on new perspective monitoring and evaluation of development projects. I call it data for impact and accountability. In the past, MIA has actually changed. We saw evolution of MIA from then MIA just monitoring and evaluation to we have now research, then to we call it SKM, strategic knowledge management, back to MIA again. Now we're talking about data for impact and accountability, very key. And my experience, my position based on my 15 years, almost around 5 to date, about 17 years experience as a consultant to NACA, MIA. And before then, I've done small little experience as a person working in one local government in Ondo State. Then rose from the level of a consultant to the director of research and monitoring evaluation in NACA, overseeing then all the responses at both the national, local government, and state level, actually for MIA, and also monitoring also sitting in the MORF of developing the strategic framework. Monitoring framework for monitoring the strategic framework for HIV/AIDS. We recall the 2004 partners, stakeholders met in New York, and they agree. New York, Washington, agree on the 3-1 principle. I will dwell more detail on that probably when as we go on in our presentation. So today I'll be speaking to you based on this my little experience, and also I know that some people who will be watching from our supply like Timmy. I know when it comes to questions and answer time, you'll be there to also bail me out. Because I don't think I have all the answers, I don't have the answers to all the questions I'll be raised in this meeting. And also in the meeting, call my staff, some NACA staff, I can see my Deputy Director of Research and Evaluation, Professor of Francis Yanet, is in charge of the head of the Division of Software Surveillance. Dr. James Anene is the head of, is also the Director to in our department, or the head of Research and Publication. Is also, he should be able to contribute when time comes to the experience we're sharing this morning. I know the time is short. From the agenda, I say I have only 45 minutes. So I'll be talking scant, I'll be so scant in my discussion on some areas, but I dwell elaborately in some other areas. So but in case you probably the area where I was briefed on, and you have great interest, call me back, I'll explain more. So I'll just move on. Thank you so much for inviting me. As I said earlier, I'm not taking this lightly. I hope I will do justice to this topic. Thank you. So we'll move on. So this is the outlook of my presentation. Can we move on, please? Next slide. So, no, sorry. Can we first slide? Okay, thank you so much. Yes, next slide. Yeah, I can see my first slide. I tried to give history of how MIA became an issue of importance in the country, to the extent that the government in 1988 led the creation of National MIA Units, no ministry. Through the decree 43, 19 led to the creation of National MIA Units. As then we now have government and donors recognize the need for performance measurement in all sectors of the economy and project. So it's expected that every project, every agency should have a functioning MIA unit monitoring the progress, because it is said MIA is talking about accountability, money for value for money, and how to show results, showcasing the result of all your performances. I will tell my NACA staff what all the drugs you buy, all the interventions, everything. What we showcases is the number that we have. They say whatever is not documented is assumed not done. So it's based on that government has mandated all ministries, including head, and should have an functioning MIA units at best in their various ministries, agencies. So we also will be promoting that even for partners to have MIA units in their project. What we see, for example, for a project to start, we will look at what the MIA framework that we have. So Our Nigeria response of HIV is aligned to the 3 ones, one that was mentioned earlier in 2004. Partners and stakeholders met in New York and agreed they should have a principle, called the 3-1 principle, that talked about a multi-sectoral response to HIV/AIDS. The first principle is to have a monitoring, a strategic framework, and which we have that in Nigeria, NSP. The third leg is MIA. The second principle should be, second leg is a coordinating body, which NACA represents, that has a multi-sectoral mandate. And the third leg is the one MIA plan or framework that monitors all. So the MIA system has undergone various reviews, and over the years, I've mentioned earlier, was now currently based on 12 components of a functional MIA system. So can I have next slide? So I'll be fast because the slides are many. Next slide, please. So I start by, it's not I don't think this is a teaching class, but just quickly remind us that what is the quick definition of MIA? It's a process that helps improve performance and achieving results. It's goal to improve current and future management of resources to achieve desired outputs, outcome, and impact. For NGOs, international NGOs, local NGOs, it's used to assess the performance of projects, and it establishes links between the past, present, and future. MIA will tell you what we had in the past, what we have now, and what the future will look like if you have a good MIA framework. In health sector, the purpose of MIA is to know whether the intended results are being achieved as planned. Next slide. Thank you. Yeah, this is the 12 component, called 12 component system framework that will tell you how functional an MIA is, if you use that to assess the functionality of MIA system in any organization, NGO. So expected that every project, every institution should use this 12 component. Most of you are familiar with this to assess the functionality of MIA, monitoring and evaluation in your project. And this must be in place before you start. If you cannot have it in place, but must bear this in mind as you go on in implementing your project. And past are the days when they said the monitoring and evaluation is cross-cutting. Yeah, it's cross-cutting, but you should see it very loud and clear in your concept, even in the log framework, and including the conceptual framework or result framework. So very loud and clear. So you look at, if you see this this cycle, which I call a cycle, it has the 12 components. In the periphery is the human capacity for monitoring and evaluation. Capacity up to now, even within NACA, we don't even have that capacity that can. Actually, when you have a dynamic and evolving system, you need update of knowledge, you need new innovation, we have new ways how you can widen your horizon, how you can build your capacity in this. But this is a very major gap in most projects. In some projects, they start with a person who does not, they just call anybody, oh, go and handle the MIA session. Knowing fully well that results are very, very important. I usually tell people the greatest motivation is result. Once you have a result, you can really motivate people. You know you are doing well. It can motivate you to going forward or not going forward, or it can actually discourage you. So human capacity is very important. For example, there's need to have, I'm not saying to minimally, a person who knows, who has the basic knowledge of monitoring and evaluation, how to do data analysis, how to use the analysis, data analytic tools. The Excel is there, the access is there to do simple analysis and able to collate, analyze, and transmit report to the covenant agency that or any reporting demand. That is very key. So I might not go through the 12 components, but one thing is very key is to have a plan. I know I'm very happy that most projects, before you submit it, we ask for MIA plan or MIA framework. What MIA framework do you have? A project should have a plan detailing every facet of the monitoring and evaluation, including the concept of that project, the various timeline, and of various indicators we'll be using, and who is responsible for capturing, for reporting, and for all the MIA pillars that you need in that in the implementation of that project. Of course, this plan must be costed. So also on the periphery too, which is very strong, is the advocacy part, which we're talking about. We'll talk about this later, and communication and culture. This is a funny joke. I was flying from Zimbabwe to Nigeria, not to pass through Maputo. is it Maputo? I forgot that place we landed. So I met some Ghanaian friends, and I don't know if the Ghanaian was with African friends. And nowhere I was saying, two good things. The first thing was that initially I used to make light. I mean, I didn't value what El-Rufai was doing in Abuja then, when he was demolishing houses. I said, I know it's wicked, he would have done this, but that was very important. I said, Abuja is very beautiful. I said, that is great. I will now appreciate the work I was doing. The Abuja is one most organized town in Africa, growing and organized town in Africa, wonderful, good road networks and so. Odebuda, I know it's a cycle. So secondly, it was saying that they talked about Nigeria too. The topic was Nigeria, that Nigeria, we're afraid of figures. But what they saying is only Nigeria, Africans are afraid of figures. We have this culture that is afraid of figures. Obviously, that is why Nigeria over the years, we can't count ourselves. And that's actually a part in our program. Nigeria, how are you so big? Are you bigger than Russia? Are you bigger than America? You can't count yourselves. Often I don't know how to. So that's a lighter note, really. But it's very important we have this culture of using our data to inform this thing. And that's where that data use is in the core of that cycle. Data use is very, very important. Very, very important. Now people talk of, like, President, where I am now, I'm in a meeting where we are doing a deep dive of a further analysis of NICE data. That NICE is the Nigeria EAC indicator in any parts of it conducted 2018. And that we have huge data, which nobody is sitting there, nobody analyzing. I want to actually make use of it. The purpose of it is to have geographical distribution and also to inform, provide evidence for planning, for programming. So data remains data, or it turns to an information, it is used. It remains just a report until it is used. So that is exactly what is happening. A lot of researches have gone on, has many reports, but it's not being used. So we're not talking of evidence for planning, evidence for programming. What is the evidence you have for target setting? Evidence for you see now data for advocacy of resources. I mean mobilization of resources. So there, because that is what we have to leave even states, even national, even projects, because they don't have data, they don't use their data, so they lack data, or they have their culture of using the data for their project. They can't actually use it to turn it to as an advocacy or data, I mean, foreign mobilization tool. So we're not sitting there as data use, which people are still talking about, is still very strong. It's still more innovation are coming up now in the use of data by strong and deeper analysis. And so next slide, please. Let me not waste my time on this. So I will quickly go, just as a reminder to tell us the various monitoring, I mean, types of monitoring and evaluation. I will just touch them. And you all know process monitoring is the routine data that is collected and analyzed in order to establish whether the project tasks and activities are leading towards the intended project results. It measures input activities and outputs, and then answer the question, what has been done so far, whether, where, when, and how it has been done. That is process monitoring. We have technical monitoring. It involves assessing the strategy that is being used in project implementation to establish whether it's achieving the required results. It may prompt a change of strategy. So it involves the technical aspect of the project, such as the activities, to be conducted. Then the assumption monitoring is very interesting. Any project has its work assumption, which we have to be clearly outlined, even in the project long frame. And as assumptions are these factors which might determine project success or failure, but which the project has no control over. That's the funny thing. Assumption monitoring involves measuring these factors which are external to the project. So, for example, a project that was promoting the use of contraceptives may realize that uptake of use of contraceptives has dropped. The drop in use sometimes of the contraceptive could, however, be attributed to the increased taxation on the importation of contraceptives in the country, which makes them more expensive rather than a project failure. We are not careful of this assumption, this thing, monitoring. You think probably this is outside your control. You think it's your project is failing. Don't there other external factors that are impacting on your project. So you must put this in the perspective so that you know this. All these are not being monitored before, but we're not talking about social monitoring. Then financial monitoring too is also very key too. This refers to the monitoring project, program expenditure, and comparing them with the budgets prepared at the plan stage. This supports accountability and reporting purposes, as well as measuring financial efficiency. Am I too fast so that I'm mindful of time? That's why I'm just running through this. Well, I will take time to, if I'm too fast, please call me to order. Let me slow down. Am I okay? Should I go on, Timmy?
Okay, please go on. Yeah, okay, please go on. Please go on, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So you have another tab. Let's go to evaluation now. You have the types of evaluation we're not talking about. And because
we are losing you.
Are you hearing me?
Yes,
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, you are very loud, you are very clear. No
very
problem.
clear. Yeah.
Okay, okay, thank you so much. So evaluation before.
Dr. Greg.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Dr. Greg.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Mr. Olabi,
we can hear you. Go ahead.
Go ahead, please, Dr. Greg. Mr.
Olabi, go ahead, please.
Please, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, okay. Before outcome evaluation, there's what we call the formative evaluation, which all know. Is this also known as evaluability assessment? Evaluability assessment, evaluation assessment, we call it. I used before program design or implementation. Most people ignore this. People don't talk probably evaluation is just endpoint evaluation. You just after the program, what is happening? You just do evaluation. But evaluation times have actually changed. We now know we can actually do evaluation even at the beginning of the project. These are very, very important. I will remark on this as we go on. So as I said, formative evaluation is also known as evaluability assessment. It's used before program design or implementation. It generates data on the need for the program and develops the baseline for subsequent monitoring. So, and it helps project managers determine their areas of concern and focus, and increases awareness of your program among the target population prior to the launch. So you can actually get this in a situational analysis, or we call it desk report, desk review. So we have just before outcome 2. Can anybody hear me, please? Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, very good. Yeah, you also have, before outcome evaluation, also what we call process evaluation, also known as program monitoring. There is a thin line between them. This occurs once program implementation has begun, measures how effective your program procedures are, useful in identifying inefficiencies and streamlining processes, and portrays the program status to external parties. There are some processes that are not efficient and they waste money. Let me add some. I would have given some examples in NICE. There are some, if a proper evaluation have done, there are some processes that were wastages that would have saved some money. If not only NICE, also some other studies too. There are some that where there are sometimes you need to, if you do a proper evaluation, you might need to do a training, for example, it could be a central training, you do a central training more effective and even more efficient than going to states to train. And sometimes we have to go to the states too to train too, instead of doing a central training. So these are very, very, very important. You note this. So I'll now go to the outcome evaluation, also known as objective-based evaluation, used during program implementation, useful in measuring how effective your program has been and hence make it more effective in terms of delivering the intended benefits. This involves generating data on the program outcomes and what degree those outcomes are attributable to the program itself. So before impact evaluation, there's what we call, I did put it here, economic evaluation, also known as cost analysis and cost effectiveness. I'm not going to this. Then impact evaluation studies the entire program from beginning to the end, useful for measuring sustained changes brought about by program or making policy changes or modification of the program. So, and you have the summative evaluation is conducted after the program completion or at the end of the program cycle, useful for program administrators, for this administrators now, useful for program administrators to justify the project, show what they have achieved, and lobby for project continuation or expansion. So these are the new things that are coming up. So, and the goal-based evaluation tool is also used in presenting reports to program administrators and backers as it provides them information that was agreed upon at the start of the program. So these are the various types of monitoring evaluation which are involved data nobody was talking about. For example, whenever people didn't know there had to be process, technical assumption, financial monitoring, weapon monitoring, and then other types of evaluation we're talking about. Next slide. So we are now moved to the trends. What is now happening? So I said earlier, most of my presentation will be experience I've gained in the past for over close to 20 years in the response on my MIA, and also listen to people, speakers from outside the country, outside the world, the globe. What things are trending, which nobody talked about. For example, in governance and accountability, nobody ever knew that we could have a monitoring framework for governance and accountability. And what I've been discussing, these trending issues are not just the issues themselves. You can just go and read them out, but are the issues bothering this monitoring and evaluation of these new trendy things. And for example, what are the bottlenecks? What are the experiences people have learned over the years? And how can you actually make them better? So I said earlier, nobody talked about governance and accountability. Let me give you an example. I don't want to mention it. There's a big project that NACA just embarked on with a very high level consultant. And if I say big project, it's a big project. For us, I have to go on I don't want to mention the name because the person who was in charge is a high profile person. So he was talking to everyone, the directors. He came to me and said, yeah, they say Dr. Gray, very important, talk to him. Somebody cannot hear me. One Veronica Gabriel, she cannot hear me. Can people hear me, please?
Just go ahead. We're hearing you.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
So this high-level project coordinator came to me and it was commissioned by NACA, and he said, I have a beautiful concept, beautiful proposal, beautiful governance structure, beautiful accountability framework. And I said, but do you have a plan to monitor your governance structure? Do you have a plan to monitor how this structure you put in place is beautiful, and this has this timeline? Do you have a plan to monitor it? Do you have monitoring framework? Do you have indicators to call it self-evaluation? Do you have self-monitoring? Do you have framework for monitoring yourself to know all this is beautiful structure put in place if they are working? Because my think they are working until probably a year or 2 years, because that the structure put in place are either very, very, they're not cost effective and they're not really making the effectiveness is not as you bargain ab initio. That do you have a monitoring framework? Say no. Started telling him the indicators you could put in place to do that can do is self-monitoring and to monitor the governance and the accountability structure you put in place. She never talked through this. He talked through this, and it's very wonderful. Because you can have good structures in place, both for steering structures, cognitive structures, financial structures, name it, monitoring structure, but I mean governance. But if there's no monitoring framework or perspective of the governance and accountability, you might have a big challenge. And that's why we have a lot of wastages. We have a lot of things happening, and we blame, and there's also program failure because of no monitoring plan for governance and accountability. In as much as it's necessary to have that, monitoring governance and accountability, there is need to include multiple data collection methods, which can help establish trends over time. Because not only, some people don't believe they should have only one data collector. We have mystery client, for example. You could have structures, questionnaires. You could also have just even way to collect and enter data. You can have that. So not just only one single data collection method. You can have multiple to find out. For you, might not be a structured one which is in place. Find a way of getting whether your what you put in place is working or not. People usually make light of this, but it's very important. Because setting of MI systems, usually when working with partners, is time intensive and requires extensive capacity support for partners and those interact with them. Shall we country program staff? So I'm not saying you should set up MI system for governance structure and accountability because it's very time intensive. But you could have a light way of doing this and to make sure that what you put in place is working. And you can use teams from us, using teams from outside and area helps to overcome potential cultural issue of difficulty and aesthetic criticism. We have varying way of administration, and sometimes accepting criticism that this thing is not working. It's not working, but you think, no, it's working. I might see that is very subjective and it's not constructive. So sometimes using team from outside can actually help you to do that, overcome potential cultural issues, especially issues that might bother to your personality or personality of the distance. So you can just tell your people, look, can we set those people? Can you allow people from outside to look at whether it's really working? Their comments and advice might also actually help you. Let me give you an example. It's in the Bible. I'm a Christian. Moses was actually leading the Israelites. He was the one. It was set up a structure which the governance structure didn't work. He was the one seeing everybody. Imagine see the problem of over 6,000 people, only men. Some called marriage problem, some very little problem, and it was the one. The structure he put in place, governance structure, was not working. He took Jethro, who was outside, his father-in-law, to advise him, why can't you break it down? Get some other, have smaller units that can look at smaller things. Why the bigger things are come to you? These are examples of this thing. So thank God he accepted it and it actually worked for him. And using smart indicators that cut across a large number of projects in multiple countries is not feasible. We are quick to say, okay, let's see what is happening in Gambia. This similar project is working in Gambia. It's working in Zimbabwe. Can we import the indicators they are using and probably bring that system? Sometimes it's not feasible, and you have to come up with your own domesticated indicators, or you adapt indicators or monitoring framework to monitor governance structure. Let's move on, please. I will move on. Yes, still on this. Performance can be reduced without targets as the outcomes are contributing to change, not driving it. This is a big issue. Most times we set target for ourselves. Let me give you an example. If of recent, those of us who are familiar with ART treatment and even the PMCCT, we set target for ourselves. Partners were pumping money, it will pay for pumping money over the years. Can you imagine from 2002, when the ART project started, and up to 2018, we never reached above 40% on treatment. Because we are worried with about targets. We are somewhat concerned, mindful of targets. And we don't know whether there's the project, the outcome are going to change or not. So if you are so much bothered about target, you might have big issue. One, say target not important, it's good to set a goal. But also note too that targets might be counterproductive too for some, especially for issue of governance and accountability. So let's move on, please. So that's what we'll say about it. Let's move on, please. So monitoring evaluation of capacity, is that the next slide? Is that the next? Okay, very good. Monitoring evaluation of advocacy, which I know this scale project is all about, advocacy. This is very important. I think you should actually take note of this. The complexity of relationship advocacy programming can lead to an enormous overload of data if you want to capture all. You need to be selective and choose the most significant change. This, I said earlier, advocacy, over the years, there's no MIE for advocacy. We just set up an advocacy framework without an MIE component. True of us, for those who are listening. A lot of advocacy are going on, but no deliberate attempt to set up a system for monitoring advocacy. So this is now trending that from now on, we're now arguing that there must be an MIE of advocacy, which is very important. So the advice to our partners to be flexible and responsive is not reflected by monitoring systems. And the monitoring evaluation needs to be integrated into the planning phase of any advocacy program. As I mentioned earlier, very important to do that. So it might not be a elaborate MIE system, just simple MIE system that might capture the effectiveness of what we are doing, and probably a little evaluation framework that look at what we've done over the years, and probably after a short time to know whether advocacy is effective. I mean, a strategy is effective or not. The logic of MIE does not reflect the chaotic nature of change. The group questioned the value of long frames when monitoring advocacy. So we might not necessarily have a long frame, but it's good to have a simple MIE structure. People work in advocacy are often activists. That is, I'm not indicting anybody, but that is the truth. People who work in advocacy are often activists, and the challenge of MIE is to find space for reflection and admit failure. So that is why you have to really get a person who is very, very knowledgeable about how to develop simple framework for advocacy. Because if you tell them they are failing, in fact, they might turn their heat against you. And if you don't take time, they might how we call a self-indictment or guilt projection. So because the activities, have I failed? Have I actually meeting the objective which the project has been set for? So I'm very careful to do that. So NGOs can overestimate the change they will make in the short term, but underestimate the long-term change they may make. So the job will do that. If I just go out to advocate, I might bring this change. I probably advocate the governor, or my cost change, knowing fully we're actually for behavioral issues. Behavior takes a long time to change. So advocacy might not actually have result. So we must be mindful of this. So if you have a smart indicator to monitor that, most of the indicators will be setting are outcome level indicators, not output or process or input level indicators. Might have some few input level indicators, but majority are long-term change indicators that may look at the long-term change. So inclusive planning and participation at all levels are key for both the beneficiary and donors. So important how we collect information. As I said earlier, very important how we collect information so that we don't have self-guilt, and also provide feedback to empower. But not only instructing, but also provide feedback to empower and to build trust for the team and those who you are advocating to. Next slide. Yes, more you talk about capacity building, but the question I asked is that I was talking to one UNS person. I'm sorry for mentioning name. I was asking them. You said it will prefer so say technical, they count technical support, capacity building. I say capacity building for what? Technical support for what? Do you have a package for it? Is it to say we have a bit of level of capacity for what? So you have to define the initial. You should have a package of the training you are doing, and not just classroom training. What do you want to see? What package of capacity you have? Is it just to train people? Is it to provide instruments for work? Or what do you want to do? So this must be defined. This will actually help us to come up with indicators that can track capacity, monitoring and evaluation of capacity building that we, and the objectives set for that program. Charlie CSOs and NGOs are working on capacity building area. So monitoring and evaluation of capacity building is such easier if there's a tangible end results I mentioned earlier. Working from input to output is often what donors require. However, looking at final changes and working backwards to the intervention, backward track is more useful for learning if we should do both, or sometimes I would do both. Sometimes we are quick to use the organizational capacity assessment tool, like the CAT, they say it. It can be used for learning, but not for generating objective data. You can, for learning purposes, know what you want to do, or not for generating objective data. So we should stop blaming donors for what we do or do not do in our planning. So we should stop blaming donors for what we do or not do. So we should just, as I said earlier, should define the set of objectives and agree on the package of capacity building when we plan ab initio. They help us to come up with simple tracking this thing. So these are the areas which are now trending, MIE for capacity building, and these areas are not the. They tell you go to ministries, go to police. We have a lot of capacity building, but probably just say how many people trained. These are the number of people trained. This is number of work instruments supplied, but there are no key. What is the outcome of that capacity building? What is the the process? We only showed processes and input, but it's possible to actually measure the outcome and even the impact of that capacity building. So this is now trends. Now it's now trending, and we should be looking forward to having MIE for capacity building. I should also practice that too. Next slide. Yeah, with this conflict, that is conflict world we have now, which ever increasing conflict situations in the world, not only in Nigeria alone, all over the whole countries. So we're out of MIE of humanitarian programs. and a lot of IDPs are in places, and a lot of complete war going on. These are an interesting area that is upcoming, and have so many NGOs coming up in the humanitarian programs, but we ask them what is they don't have MIN framework, MIN for humanitarian programs. So these are the trending issues in the world, and there is need to have MIN humanitarian programs. And yes, we have in HIV, we have OVC, but we believe that conflicts might also increase the incidence or a new infection for OVC, for HIV/AIDS. So we should have MIN for that. How do we track that so that we curb it? We actually issues of areas where, a time of emergency, so that we plan up an issue as programs are coming. There's a framework of MIN for humanitarian programs. So these are always difficulties in getting reliable data, especially in long-term conflict situations. So I'm very sure those who are gathering data in Maiduguri have stopped. And if you ask people, even in HIV/AIDS fair, data, even the nights they did, they couldn't enter couldn't get, or yes, we need to get some data from Maiduguri and some other conflict areas, but it's not as robust as we expect it to be in other areas. So actually, now that conflict situation are increasing, there's need to have a monitoring framework for tracking achievements and activities in my material programs, and actually area of conflict. But it's always very difficult to get long-term data for long-term conflict situations. People abandon it and just leave it. Meanwhile, other effects and backlashes and backlashes to also we see, and major long-term effects this are seen, but nobody's tracking them. So people are now, attention will now be focused on developing a very robust framework for material programs. There's potential in using monitoring information provided by beneficiaries. It's a tool for deepening engagement with humanitarian work beneficiaries. So we can actually ask those who are benefiting. So the tool might be targeted on the end users of this. So we're having either they're displaced or not displaced. Instead of having a standard tool, might be what we call an official tool in tracking this. So it's important to use the learning during the process in order to improve program quality over the time. Questions are raised as to the ethical dilemma of using a mystery shopper, sending someone who is posed as a patient to check the quality of service provided. So it has an ethical issue. Somebody is saying that who doesn't want to die, who wants to be affected, for example. So those are the issues. Should we always expect people to give up time? Should we always expect people to give up time to provide us with data for our program free of charge? So it could be capital intensive too, but we should not lose sight of developing MIN for humanitarian program. Next slide. The monitoring evaluation in community-based networks is another trending issue, which sort of great interest now. The main purpose of monitoring evaluation and learning is to enable reflections and learning within a community, not to improve what they are attempting to achieve. Existing monitoring evaluation practices often exclude the community. Community ownership is key and should be supported by using community language, taking time to build trust, community to community learning, and exchanges, building on community practices. There's need to design my policy frameworks and structure which are truly participatory, inclusive, empowering to the community. On the whole, communities become very aware of the short-term financial support provided by donors, which in turn decrease ownership of a project, even a network development by the community. What I'm trying to say here is that, one, we are not careful. We lose trust. They will say, you see the community not participating, and they say, they just come to eat our money. Or they have money, that's why they're spending it. They won't own that program. They will not own that program, but if they are carried along, ab initio, even in the logical framework, they say, look, what we are doing, we're looking out for this from time to time. They cooperate with you, and the only way we can do that is for them to have an inclusive and to approach it where they are part of the planning, they are part of the execution. Even we are open to them. By that they own it, even though they just say it's a program. At think we actually had that issue in the state. Before now, states don't own their program. They don't own it. You say, we just collect data, and also they just give you, they just help to collect, but they don't own they don't own the data. So community actually own that data. So we are now saying communities should own the data you are collecting, not just the data should not be for the project and the project alone. The community should be able to tell you about the achievement of that project in that community. Of recent, we're now talking about the community-led model. Probably I will talk about that later. Yes, next slide, next slide. This is a familiar project topic, which impact evaluation, which I want to do more on. Everybody is familiar with impact evaluation. So we're very clear what we are doing. This for the achievement over a long time, and what's the impact of the project we are doing. People now say that probably, people argue that no matter how small your project is, you can create an impact in that local area the project is being implemented. You can measure it. Who say that been for a long time. I'm saying can measure an impact of a project within 6 months to 1 year. And while monitoring is going on, actually measure the impact. And the simple tool can be developed to actually do this. So as we are running up, can actually measure the impact, present to your donors. And we can also use the impact evaluation report as a document for advocacy for more fund, and also to the people can share it to people who are interested and to other covenant partners and stakeholders, and also help you to efficiently use how efficient use of fund how efficient is the use of the fund provided. Efficient use of fund does not necessarily lead to long-term sustainable change. Most know this. And the current trend of valuing short-term predictable results over long-term is no more in vogue. As I said earlier, we can actually do a short-term measurement of impact. Next slide. So this other trending issue is the monitoring evaluation in complex context of social change. We're now talking about social protection, and program monitoring and evaluation complex context require frequent bursts of short learning sessions, regular feedback cycles. Now to avoid falling back into reporting mode, stick to the routine of organizing sense-making sessions, and use the sense-making session to develop monitoring reports. These are very technical, but I just hope probably if you need more time, I'll try to rush it. I'll take it time to explain more. But this is trending now. Yes, next slide. There's a need to find a balance between developing a top-down MIS system and ensuring they are responsive to the needs of the partners and beneficiaries. It's essential to link MIS system to planning. If planning is poor or non-existent, it's much harder to develop a good MIS system. International NGOs must ensure their systems are set up to capture the right kind of results. If we want to develop better MIS system for learning and improving them, we need to make sure we have the support of senior managers and trustees. It is also important to develop cost-benefit analysis and cost of project analysis. I want to just beg project. I know you have your set indicators, but very important. As you go on, it's not too late. Your indicators that you develop must align. The table is setting up common indicators. It must align with global standards, global guidelines. That is one. Of course, it must also carry along your programs. You must have to speak to your programs on the project which you are running, and also align with the existing structure. If you do that, it makes everything easy for you. So most projects are not aligned with global guidelines. Indicators are very difficult to define, and also very, very difficult to report. And also, it does not really make much meaning apart from that project, within that project cycle, but you can actually go beyond that and make the indicators matter. Thank you. Next slide. Everybody talking about result-based management now. And that's a new thing, which everybody is familiar with now. As I mentioned, the very importance of trust. A reserve frame is not an end in itself. We need adequate resources to manage the reserve framework approach. But you must have evidence, they must have data to actually run this. And the data, you can be, before you start your project, you can do a desk review. You can actually meet those who actually have the data and do that, and come up with a solid reserve framework. You can actually you can do a consultation. I'm available. You want to consult me to have a reserve an MIE for program evaluation. I can help you that very small amount. I'm not selling myself, I'm not joking. Next slide. So very important we have a program evaluation. So of recent, which you all know, we're not talking about data science and artificial intelligence. And but I don't know how strong it is for projects, because this is used when you have very large data and a sound knowledge and insights from structured and unstructured data and integrates big data in MIE system. Using machine learning to extract reliable data and enables performance dashboard to report as reporting tool. Other capabilities include smarter service, test analytics, and computer vision. But I don't know how big scale project is, how useful this data science and artificial intelligence to it. But I know it's very important now. You will now have emerging technology for MIE, which I believe. So I will scale it down to using data science, artificial intelligence for small data. But we need a lot of capacity, which I talked about, a lot of training. So that is what we should go for. We should actually take training very important and go for those who are qualified. They said monkey service, monkey pay. If you want good service, you should pay for the service. And that's the major challenge we have in the use of data science and emerging technology for MIE, actually for projects and programs, actually at small scale and at lower level. Next slide. Sorry, yeah. Other measure, other talking points are community level monitoring. We all know now. This not only community now, but the community, where I mean those who are beneficiaries. For example, in HIVs, the people live with HIVs and the community, and they should actually assess the quality of service, the access to the service, and now the effectiveness of the service rendered to them, because they are the community. They are the ones wearing the shoe. Not only in HIV, even with malaria too, even with TB, let the beneficiary actually lead the monitoring. Let them know. It will be very effective, and we own it too. And people don't know the top probably is witch hunting, or it's not so. Should allow the community to lead the monitoring. They should lead an aspect of it, and the data they collect should be an integral part of the data set that we are using and we are reporting. Who are talking about social protection, MIE of social protection, and gender and human rights and justice. So this should be integral and also important in your projects. The gender issue very important, and human rights too. Your project feature human rights. You have MIE for human rights and justice. Next slide, which I think is the last slide. The challenge has been funding. Projects, they believe that marking money for MIE is a wastage, and rather they say MIE cross-cutting. They hide under that, and so it is advised that 5 to 10% of the project sum it will mark for monitoring and evaluation. And if you do that, you will see it's just like a person who is going to cut a tree, and spends two people. Somebody spends longer time to sharpen the cutlass, and it goes ahead. And one person just say, I'm wasting time, let me just go ahead and cut the tree. Experience have shown that the person who has spent time to sharpen the instrument with little energy and the result for the hard work. The other person might spend a day and the result will be poor. So I think we should encourage projects to mark money, large sum of money for monitoring evaluation. No partner will tell you that 5% or 10% is small. Or would rather use money for administrative cost with 10%, but MIE 1%, which is very poor. Then I said earlier, the major challenge we have has been in implementing all this has been capacity. We should have, for example, a project should have a biostatistician or health informatics in a project who help to turn data into information and to do triangulation, a lot of triangulation and data play with your data to get information for use. I mean, data for use. We're talking about everyday-based planning, everyday-based target setting, everyday-based policy, decision making, and so on. Even in the country, we don't do that. And it's a big challenge. And poor understanding of monetary evaluation is a big challenge. Let me quickly throw this in. There's a popular saying in the cycle of MIA that not all that counts are accountable. And not all that are accountable that we can count. We read a programmer job or project producers who can count everything, but do they actually count? Are they important? Well, and also that not everything that is important we can count. So but just make do with that. So if we have that understanding that not all the accounts are accountable, and other accountable accounts will actually help you, help to reduce anxiety and try to achieve and provide result for what you are doing. And so next slide. I think that should be the last slide. Next slide. So for key messages, for a result-oriented health system, partnership instead of working in silos will lead us to that point we're going to. Surely, if we want, usually new perspective we're talking about. New partnership, if you don't know it, nobody's an island. You can seek advice from people who know it and they help you. And the world is a global village. You can really go to the internet and seek for more information. It will actually help you. And adapt that. Not all that are useful, must have good understanding to know that all that are useful. And try to adapt and adopt what you think is good for your use. And let's know what we are doing to ensure that required health and management information are available and accessible to all users, and that each piece of information is adequately and properly used for defined intended purposes. I've seen many project officers now, and all the quote names, very big organization in the HIV sphere, that the particular time we look for, when I interacted with them, and they have a lot of data, project data, but this information was not useful for anybody. Actually, we are actually looking for data for HIV TB collaboration. So we're using an data, but it's a project that has large information on this, and they didn't make it available for people to use. So it's a very big issue. So I said earlier, I should allow your activities to the national mining system and make sure that it goes to help you from there. Make this easy for you. Just take your own beat. I will try to evaluate and also measure attribution. You can actually do that if you align with mining system. Now you also know that you cannot demonstrate results achievement unless the same to contribute to the wider health sector objective. That is related to that. And get involved in strengthening the system by providing money, invest in MIA and MIA monitoring evaluation and data. And lastly, I want to say here that he who has information has the power. Information is power, and this I got from Erasmus, and he was telling me, because he's an experienced person. He said, Greg, you know you have the information, you have the power. So really, I say yes, because information is power. So I want to tell the house today, get data, get power. Thank you so much. Good this afternoon. Good morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Greg. That has been really informative. You have taken us through how M&E has evolved over the years, the various areas and segments of M&E, and I really like how you also went through all the various areas that we as NGOs would normally be implementing in, and you stress the fact that even for all of these areas, we need to be thinking about how we put in place M&E frameworks. And I also particularly like your emphasis on data for use. You started with it at the very beginning, and you also ended with the importance of data for use. How do we ensure that all of this data that we are generating is really very impactful, and we can translate it into much more work that we can do, either using it for resource mobilization, using it for advocacy, and using it to further the work that we do as a non-governmental organization. So thank you very, very much for that very elaborative presentation, and I'm sure that people will spend more time looking at it in detail and reflecting on it as they go forward. So we're going to open up now for questions, and please, if you have questions, kindly indicate with the raise of your hands electronically, or you could drop your questions in the chat box. I saw somebody had dropped something in the chat box when you talked about national M&E system, and the person put a question mark. So I guess maybe you need to elaborate about the existence of a national M&E system. So maybe we could start from there. And then there's also another question that says that this question is from Benjamin Ovio. What are the key challenges and limitations in evidence-based development in Nigeria? So that is another question for you. And I see okay, Benjamin Ovio, I just read your question in the chat box, but I would ask you to elaborate since your hand is up already. So you could ask your question. I'm going to ask you to unmute so you can ask your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that was an insightful presentation. I just wanted to find out from the presenter as an aspect, and I say that it's pretty health focused, but I wanted to see a possibility of giving a framework, giving an M&E framework that organizations can take away to say this is a generic framework, as basic as it is, as critical as it is, that can be taken forward by participants in today's session. And just to also clarify, you made a categorical statement about organizational capacity assessment, that it is not learning, it is for generating data. I'm not too clear what he meant by that, because that appears a bit contradictory from my perspective as an OD consultant. The final point I would like to ask is the question I asked about the key challenges, because there appears to be so much results coming from Nigeria. We look at M&E reports from all the indications.
Please, could you wrap up your questions, because there are other hands up.
Yeah, so I was trying to find out that M&E, is it causing more problem for development practitioners? Because there appears to be loads of results coming out from Nigeria about the good work that is taking place. Meanwhile, the evidence is not there. When you look at the man on the street, all the data appears to be contradicting the M&E results that we're seeing. What is the real issue? I would need some clarification on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin. Please, I'm going to appeal to all the other people who have their hands raised up. Please, we have very limited time. Please just go straight to your question so that we can move on.
So I'm not having the paper to jot this. Let me so I can jot down.
Okay. Can I go ahead, please?
Okay, 1 minute. Let me jot something down.
Okay, yeah. Just hold on.
Just hold on 1 minute now.
Hold on.
Can I just answer the last speaker? Then I start jotting down.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, starting from the last one, so many evidence, and what we see on the streets contradictory. Is M&E causing problems? If you ask me, you see, do you know I salute the work of National Bureau of Statistics. They churn out data that are sometimes very offensive to the government in power, and ideally, if they actually listen, they work with evidence. We don't have challenge. I think major challenge we programmers and even the implementers have is that we just, let me give an example. This, I'm not afraid to say this, but unfortunately, I will not quote the name of my leader. Our first, that's why I cannot forget this. In 2005, myself and one Sheglola, I don't know if you know him, Mr. Ravi Sheglola, we did, that was the first, if you look at the data we have on HIV/AIDS, the treatment data, that is the baseline we quote up to today. That baseline was developed in 2005. In 2005, we did a data validation where we observed, or we got data for treatment. At the end of 2005, we came up with the data that about 50,200 people, cannot forget it, who are on treatment treatment for HIV/AIDS. This did not sync well with the oh, sorry, I could date. I would have probably those who are familiar with NACA know what I'm talking about with our boss then, our boss. So when the figure was given to him, he shouted, screamed, "Ah, no, it cannot be, cannot be." So now I call one of my person who was not a data person. That person is a project manager. And the person gave our boss the number of 78,000. Then I called my boss, then I said, "Look, I won't take this." I said, "Well, what I'm going to report to CAM, I mean, the own gas, that's 50,200, that was what I reported. And that was his stance. To them, it does not really contradict to what they are saying. But the normal, the real thing that 50,000 on treatment. That is how the figure, that what we got. So, but what they think is that 78,000, no, it's going to pay the bad light. But earlier we reported 60,000. How come now, 6 months down the line, we are reporting 50,000, and the patient is dying, and is the program failing? But the truth is that we like deceiving ourselves and want to face the fact. Monitoring and evaluation will tell you true picture. Evaluation will tell you what the effectiveness and efficiency of your project. But how many people actually do this? What they do is do a quick review. I don't know. There's a practical example of a project, a very big project in the country, program in the country. I was telling them, a project has been running for some time. I said, can we do a quick, a rapid evaluation of what we've done to know this? They said, no, great, we are witch-hunting us. That is not witch-hunting you. Just let's face the fact. What are we doing? We want to face the fact. So that is why we go about setting wrong targets, manipulating data to show the result we wanted. But if we actually apply the right instrument, tell people that, look, if I'm going to supervise you with a project, for example, ab initio, I would tell you the instrument I'm using. I would tell you, look, I'm going to do this, I will do that. They'll say, no, don't set the instrument, just go and surprise them. Say, no, a good instrument, if it is very effective, it's going to detect window dressing. You can't window dress. No matter how effective, no matter how you window dress, a good monitoring instrument, supervisory instrument, will pick it out. So I don't mind what I say, no, send it to the person. Tell him I'm coming so date, I'm going to check this, I'm going to check that, I'm going to check that. Let the person go ahead and manipulate. So that is the challenge we have. And again, on talking about we're expecting a framework or a generic one. If you want to hire me, I can do that. That's beyond what we have. I just tell the perspective, not to come with a framework. But if you need that, I can share with you. I will have that so many can come with a quick one, but also note to that we have projects have various objectives and various indicators we are looking at. So a generic framework might not work, might work for some many projects, but generic that will serve the purpose of all the projects, it might be difficult. So that I don't want to mislead anybody. So they could come with a framework might not be effective and show the result you want to show. I don't think I've answered all the questions, but I was not jotting that some, but if there's anyone missed, I can raise it up later. So Olajide, I'm okay. Next round of questions, Olajide.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Greg. So we would ask Abdul Hamidu, please unmute yourself, and then you can go ahead with your question.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Greg. This is a wonderful presentation. My question is, some of us that are just having small NGOs are having problem with the issue of MIE, especially as it relates to project conceptualization and the rest of them. What advice do you have for us? That's number one. Then quickly, number two, M&E and community-based network. We also have, especially those that have some of us that have grassroots community-based organizations and the rest of them. How do we now do MIE with this community-based network? And lastly, this sense making. I want you to expatiate on this sense making. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Greg. Thank you for your presentation. It was awesome. You know, listening to you talk about the 12 components of MYE and all that, it was quite mind-blowing. And when you talked about the types of evaluation and monitoring we have. It was quite profitable to me as an M1E person. But I was thinking, just like my other colleague asked, when I saw the topic of this webinar talking about the new perspectives in M1E of development projects, I don't know if you can help give a guide of how an organization will have a sustainable management information system. I don't know if it's within the scope of this webinar, or if you have any resource you can share with me. I would really appreciate. Thank you.
Okay, so let's take one more person, Dr. Greg, and then you can respond. Any, please unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, please, very quickly. Yes,
I just want to appreciate the presenter for a job well done. But while you were making the presentation, you mentioned that indicators must align with the project. That's okay. But you now say that there are some indicators must align with global guidelines. Please, can you mention some of these global guidelines, or possibly refer me to a material I can use to access such information? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Greg, please, you can take the questions now. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Global guidelines, yeah. There's what we call the GAM indicators, Global East Monitoring Indicators. You can find this in the UN's reporting guideline. They are there. There are so many WHO indicators. We can also find them on the WHO website. In selecting indicators, there are three assumptions, or three assumptions must take into mind. The first one is the indicators, are they useful to the globe? That was the globe. So global guidelines are indicators which are useful to the globe. And for example, for HIV is number of treatment, number of people who are on treatment, for example, HIV is. And for example, again, number of the HIV test counseling, those number of HIVs who are tested and counseled and receive result. We want to know that it's a global indicator. So many on, and probably the TB, number of TB cases, new and old TB cases. So the world want to know what is happening in those countries. Global indicator will showcase what is happening in that country, we report them. People that have to know that there's cholera outbreak. HIV is a big issue in Nigeria. COVID is a big issue in Nigeria. From the data that's coming up from NCDs that made the UN, for example, other country place ban. So America have their own data too. So what the UN is and the UN deal with, they just collate these common indicators that might affect the health of visitors and the people largely. That might also cause outbreak. So those are global indicators. And if you know those indicators and you're having a project on health and HIV is related, you can look at GAM or WHO and see, look at UN's website and WHO, are they common? We can carve indicators. So with that, we report to, as we do that, we send the data out. You know that in this small space we are working, you also have to showcase what we are doing. People are smart and showcase what we are doing. There's another work contribute to the global progress in addressing or response to that disease or entity that we are working on. Then, so you can go to UN's website, go to WHO website and so on and get that. They're very common. But I can send you one. I share with you the organizers global indicators that we have. Then the slide sharing, I think organizers should do that. They heard you. The resource making, resource making. Okay, this is related to the first one. That's all those NGOs are small. What do you do? What do you do about how to set up a mind framework? In doing that, I understand that some NGO might not have the luxury or the capacity to employ a trained or a seasoned MI officer. You see one of my slides, what you can do is that you can learn from people, those who are doing it. You can if you need some, you can seek and become a part of TWGs. For example, we have HIV SKM TWG. They can be complementary to your capacity. You have somebody there who can just help you out with little fee or no fee. actually help you. So if you really, they call it network with other people, they can actually help you. And to come up with a simple framework. What you need is a simple one-pager framework that might not cost much. I help you to monitor. Actually, we don't have that capacity to do elaborate monitoring and do data science and so on. We can set up a small monitoring framework, even in Excel-based software. You can have a small database that will help you to monitor what you are doing. So you can network, you can meet people who know it. You can also help some NGOs who are big and ask for assistance. Then sense making, yeah, okay, sense making. The concept of sense making is sense making is the process by which people give meaning to their collective experiences that we define as the ongoing retrospective development and plausible images that rationalize what we are doing. And we just what they think makes sense based on experience. 3 or 4 NGOs probably in this meeting, but just go, okay, this makes sense, so this don't make sense. For example, having an elaborate a seasoned head of marketing don't make sense for small NGOs. Or networking and also asking people, these are concepts. I will put this in image. So that's what they call sense making. What actually makes sense to people that will benefit to the larger house. That's that process is called sense making. And what the product is what we are talking about. That can add value to what we are doing. That can make sense and realistic to what we are doing. That is what I mean by that. Then which other one again? Is there anyone who can remind me again?
Sorry, there was a question about how can organizations have a sustainable M&E system?
Yeah, sustainable M&E system. Yeah. Oh, it's money. First of all, if you have a bright idea and have a long-term M&E framework, talking about both short-term, well, that's the challenge we have. Most, they call it MIE of MIE. I'm very sorry I didn't present it, the monitoring evaluation of MIE. I just said most people just stop at having a monitoring framework, but you have monitoring evaluation, MIE of MIE, you actually help you. So while looking at monitoring evaluation of your project, how do you monitor the MIE too? It's very important, simple to do that. And it also help you to have a lasting. Let me give you an example. Do you know there's a project, I don't mention the name. I was in Lagos to monitor this. Actually, let me just give you to be specific, but I won't mention the name of the district. These people have a project in Lagos. They call it in the General Hospital, Lagos. And wonderful project. Wonderful project that then they place large number of people on treatment. But what they're doing, by the time I speak, probably know what I'm talking about. They were supplying rice to people. They were supplying salt, paying money for transport, paying this. Nobody. So what I'm saying that if ab initio, that's why I started by saying formative evaluation, outcome evaluation, and impact evaluation. If you don't have an evaluation of at the start of the project, we have a big issue. You have issue of sustainability. But they didn't know that at the point in time must be if you have MIE of a project ab initio, or like a formative MIE, a monitoring evaluation, you have an exit strategy or sustainable strategy. You put it there. You have cover small indicators. If indicators are failing, you know that this thing might not be sustainable. Even the MIE framework put in place is not sustainable. So by the time they left, they lost out. And the agency that got it didn't know where to start and how to start with the project, how to monitor what they are doing. So they put in some indicators that were not sustainable, which cannot even sustain the project. So it's to have a simple framework that ab initio defines the short-term and long-term strategies that will sustain even the system that they put in place. That's very important. If you do that, looking ahead, that is it. Looking ahead, and I'm smart about it. I don't know if I answer it.
Yes, you have. Thank you, sir. We still have a couple of hands raised. So because of our time, we'll only be able to take 2 more hands. That is Julia Yusuf and Adiola Sheweje, in that order. So Julia Yusuf, I'm asking you to unmute yourself. Please go ahead and ask a question.
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Greg, for your presentation. I just want to make for the points on the governance and accountability, I just want to give the highlight of the 2 points you gave, and I asked my question. The first one is performance can be deduced without targets. And then the other one is in trying to measure progress through performance-based management system, MIE becomes very labor intensive and therefore leads to high cost. Please, can you explain to me what is the difference between performance and M&E? Because it seemed to be so confusing here, looking at the points these 2 points you gave under governance and accountability, performance and M&E.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So we'll move over to Adiola Sheweje. Please go ahead with your question. You can unmute yourself.
Okay, Dr. Greg, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, I can hear you. Go.
Yes, in the last slide, you mentioned about capacity for M&E personnel. I just want to ask, what are your thoughts on this? Because the M&E position seems to be like a jack of all trades kind of thing. Now it's called, in some places it's called MIL, monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. And I'm thinking, if you are saying accountability and learning, that implies that I need, as an M&E person, I need to also engage with budgets and planning, in relation to the data that I have. What are your thoughts on that? The M&E person having to juggle between all of these. And when you talk about learning, it also implies that, as an M&E person, I have to be able to do some research. I have to be able to write some abstracts. Should the positions be differentiated from each other, or should they just continue with the status quo as it is?
So you can come again, last statement.
Okay, I mean that, when you talk about monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning, I talked about accountability, meaning that, implying that the M&E person will also be involved with liaising with budgets, programs, to be able to find out how accountable that project is. Then the other part, learning. It also implies that the M&E person has to be able to come up with some writing in terms of abstract, research. What are your thoughts on that? Should the positions be separated? Because my thought is that the M&E person has a lot to do, even collecting data, cleaning up data, analyzing the data, without being bothered with, all the writing. I think writing is also a specialized skill, that other folks can engage in. I'm just asking, what are your thoughts on this? Should we differentiate the positions, M&E, and then somebody else is doing the learning part of it, getting the stories out, and somebody else doing the accountability part?
Okay.
All right, please go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me start with the last one. I think it depends on how the system is set up. For example, where you have a big project where you have only one MIA officer, so in a small project we have only one monitoring evaluation officer, where you don't have the luxury, both in finances and this thing to hire people. One person can do jack of all trades, integrating all the job into one. And again, on learning, on research and abstract writing. For example, where I am now is facilitating deep analysis and abstract manuscript writing. That's where I am now. It does not limit, it's not only one person. What I did was that everybody, including everyone, even team should be involved in abstract writing. Everyone should be involved in abstract writing. First of all, in doing that, you actually is a form of self-capacity building, and it can also showcase what you are doing. Everybody should have this thing, should be integrated what we are doing. So it's not a job MIA. Every programmer should learn how to write abstracts and manuscripts. Then for the other workability, yes, MIA person should actually have access to what we are. For example, no report is complete without budget, the cost and even the expenses. They call it financial report, because at the point in time you have to measure the efficiency of that project and the cost effectiveness of it, whether there's value for money what you are doing. It's one of the indicators that we will look at. Evaluation will be complete without a component of cost effectiveness and efficiency and efficiency and effectiveness with that project. So it's very important you have the MI person has access to that, and the job will not be complete without access to the money that is being spent. It's not the work of the account. So for example, as a person, as a MI person as director, I have access to all the money in NACA, not only in NACA alone, even through what we call NASA, National Youth Spending Assessment. The word PEFA, if I meet PEFA, from time to time, PEFA gives me what is paid, Global Fund. I have access to it, and I present as NASA report, National Youth Spending Assessment Report. So I do it every year, quarterly. I know, yearly and 2 yearly. So MI is not complete without financial report. So that is why we are saying that MI officer, people just, and that is why people see a MI person as an auditor. We're not auditors. We just want to showcase what we're doing. Once a project can demonstrate efficiency, partners will have the trust, the confidence to give you more money. So it's for your own good for us to demonstrate efficiency of a project, to know how much you spend against your achievement. So that is very key. That leads me to performance. Performance just highlighting your achievement is different from evaluation, monitoring evaluation. Monitoring is using some set of indicators to actually measure over time and against the set objectives and the target that you set. Performance is just achievement against target, but MI goes beyond that. MI look at the whole of assessing the system, assessing everything of all of any course of monitoring and evaluating that project. Performance just target, just simply defined as highlighting the achievement against target set. That is what performance is. So it goes beyond MI is. So performance is part of MI, monitoring and evaluation. So which other question was asked again? Yeah, any other question I've forgotten now? Like my ATP is going down. I'm losing. So
sorry, just hang in there, Dr. Greg. Hang in there. I think we have about 2 more minutes for a quick question. So we'll just take one last question and we'll end that there. So I'm going to invite Precious Charles. Precious Charles, please go ahead with your question. Make it very quick, and then we will wrap up. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir. My question is this: what data collection sources and tools can one use to track those indicators of capacity building and advocacy that you mentioned?
That reminds me. Somebody mentioned about whether somebody asked earlier on that what do I mean by capacity, using CAT as a tool. What I said that using CAT as a tool should not be used as a data, a data collection tool. Might not get what we want to do that some partners, even those who are not really have poor understanding of CAT, capacity assessment tool, is to assess the system. It's not the data collection tool. Yes, you can collect some data, but it should not be used as a data collection tool. It's to learn what has transpired over the year. The CAT is to measure, to learn what has happened, the data gaps, the capacity gaps, capacity needs, and inform your plan. It's not a tool for collecting data for capacity needs, for capacity, assessing capacity. A tool for not data collection capacity. It's necessarily data. We call it an assessment tool. It's not data collection tool. You ask me. So it's not be the sole. It should not be sole tool for collecting data for capacity institution of that organization, or capacity system, or capacity of that institution. So as best is for learning what has happened and what your needs are and what the gaps are and what plan you have for that institution. It's not used for data. So it's a data collection. So that's what I mean by that. And also talked about, I think we also mentioned something about, forgotten about governance is, I forgot the question I asked. I've forgotten that question. Previous speaker. So the tool for that, you can develop a simple tool for college. There's a tool, generic tool for college for data capacity building. You can generate it. Very simple. You should not, I really tell you, we usually go for very elaborate and very complex tool. Simple to just okay. That's a networking and asking questions, very important, so that I can develop tools. Probably what I'm going to do is that probably if a skill has money, you can contract me and develop these simple tools for all these various issues I've mentioned, very simple ones that you can actually use. MI is money, MI is capital intensive. Timmy wants to say something. So that is it. Thank you so much. I don't know if I made impact in my presentation, and I also answer all the questions that have been asked. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure that if there are more questions, we will just send them to you by email so that you can also help to address that. I just want to say again, a very big thank you. I hope you can at least drink water now, and let's step up the ATP.
Lady, before you hand over, I think we can still use the next 10 minutes. There are some questions in the chat box. We can still use it. We still have time. We can still use some 10 minutes to do that. If you don't mind, I could read them out. I've actually extracted some. Some are actually suggestions. Some are questions. So can I go ahead, please?
Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, Dr. Greg. So first of all, somebody is asking that you please expatiate more on the National Monitoring and Evaluation System. That is one. Somebody also has asked whether the outcome evaluation can be done at the beginning of a project. Please explain. Bearing in mind that, of course, some of the participants have various levels of knowledge of M&E. So these are some of the first two questions, especially more on national monitoring and evaluation, whether outcome evaluation can be done at the beginning. And then somebody said, I think it's a suggestion, SMART should include gender, as a lot of use around gender, okay, when it comes to governance. So maybe you want to speak to that, SMART being a specific, measurable, and all the rest in terms of setting indicators and all that. So that gender should be included. I don't know, maybe you want to speak to that. Thirdly, somebody also has said that I think maybe this is more of a suggestion that the challenge we have in development sector is that no funding plans and their monitoring systems are not directly linked nor contributing to the national M&E plan, partly because they have their agenda and objectives for donating the funds. We need to hold donors accountable to ensure that their progress and monitoring efforts are directly contributing to national development projects. I think you may want to speak to that. Is that clear, Dr. Greg?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Then, yeah. Somebody has said, thanks for a good presentation. I just wonder, having M&E for advocacy, humanitarian impact will not be too many for an NGO on a project. They are suggesting she's suggesting a framework that covers the three and managed by one M&E of an organization, that this might just be too much for an M&E. Well, you can also take that. Kolawole Giwa stated that whether there is a big challenge in accepting the evaluation of advocacy project because the subjective interest of the project presentation, how can one overcome this? Okay, overcoming subjective interest in implementation of project when it comes to evaluation of advocacy activities. So those are some of them. Should I continue or should I?
Just pause. Let me respond to some of this.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Just on a when I was saying that I need a control, just joking. We have some smart guys in my department who can actually help to develop tools. If you Timmy can contact me and we give it to shadow advocacy tool, capacity building tool, we can actually do that for free for you. And we have some smart guys who can do that. So we can come with a simple generic framework that will help you. So I just share that with you as a part of contribution to your to what you are doing. Then the other one about whether outcome evaluation can start at the present. What the evaluation, the type of evaluation that can begin at the project, beginning of the project is process evaluation, which is also called program monitoring, which is useful in identifying inefficiencies and streamlining processes and portrays the program status to external parties. We can do that at the beginning. Also, you can also do a formative evaluation, which is very important. This is called availability assessment. I use before program design or implementation. Use that helps project managers determine their areas of concern and focus, and increases awareness of your program among the target population prior to launch. So formative evaluation and process evaluation is very important. You can start and you can do that, but outcome level evaluation can be done while the project is ongoing or at the end of the project. So, so that is that. Then Timmy, can you remind me of the last one again? I was not, you were very fast, I was not just lost track of it.
Okay, one of it said most funding plans are not contributing to the national M&E plans. How do we ensure that there's alignment with that? And then there was also one about the M&E for advocacy, humanitarian issues, you know.
Yeah, there can be one. Yeah, yeah. Yes.
Subjective. Yeah.
Yeah, I said earlier.
Can it be harmonized?
Yeah, they can actually be harmonized. You can actually have a simple tool for that. There are simple tools that can really develop to harmonize all this. Because actually, M&E for advocacy, I mean, social protection and humanitarian services, can harmonize that. All the tools can harmonize to one actually, but provided they are simple. As I said earlier, the M&E is expensive and capital intensive and time intensive too. M&E is time. Monetary evaluation is time. Monetary evaluation is money, and that is why you must. Because collecting an indicator, that was said, whatever indicator you are coming up with must align with the system. What I mean is that are there systems for capturing them in terms of human capital, in terms of tools that we are going to use? Because the developing tool is capital intensive. Somebody's going to spend his time or her time. What I'm going to do free for you, somebody's going to be the time of somebody and which it will be paid for. So we can actually, so another way of doing that is to align what we are doing with them. Some of the indicators are already present. The first to do is to develop an indicator, we call indicator matrix, and come up with a reference sheet to define them. Because some we have numerators, some have a denominator. So come with indicator matrix, and indicator matrix will contain the indicator, the definition, who is collecting them, and time, frequency of collection of that indicator. Very important. And who should collect and who should report to, and which the frequency of doing that. So we can actually do that. We can develop a matrix. It's a very simple one. You list them and go. What you go look for smart indicators, very smart indicators which are specific and measurable, and in line with the objective set for that project. We can do that, and we don't have to have an M&E plan. And somebody mentioned that I should talk about M&E plan. We have an M&E plan in the country. Yes, we have an M&E plan in the country called the ERIMS National Nigeria for HIV, called the Nigeria National Response Information Management Plan. We just developed a plan for 2021 to 2026. It's in place. It will tell you the indicators we are tracking, because we are tracking, who is tracking the indicator, the division of the indicator, the systems in place for the tracking, who we are reporting to, and the various institutions that are for capacity building and so on. They're all in the plan. And I think we are finding it on our website, NACA website, www.naca.gov.ng. We have that website. I will call it NOP3. It's a website. Go there, say NOP2, NOP1, NOP3. All of the latest one now. This plan monitors the national strategic plan, the existing one, which just ended. We have a framework. So this plan monitors the national strategic framework action. National health sector plan, but I don't know if they have a framework for that. National monitoring framework, but I know in the past there are some framework that monitors that plan. I don't know if they develop framework for that. But for HIVs, we have national the M&E framework that monitors the plan. And is that all, I think? Yes, I'm done.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think that is all. That is all. Thank you very much, lady. Thank you very much, Dr. Greg. Thank you for answering all those questions. And I think our participants have greatly benefited because the plethora of questions that came, or the avalanche of questions that came, it shows a lot of activity. A lot of people were actually listening and trying to learn a lot from this. All right, just if there's anyone who wants to share any stories with us, please let us know. You may also indicate by raising up your hands, or you can, if you want to reach out to us on the phone or through your emails, you can please also do that. But if there is something you want us to know immediately, please, we'll be glad to hear you. And you can also send us some details if you want us to reach out to you personally. We'll be available to do that. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.